and welcome to another episode of Gutter Boys. I am your co-host, JB, alongside my co-host in good old Louisville, Kentucky, Cam Del Rosario. Cam, what is up with you?
Not too much, man. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm still recovering from C2E2. It was a lot of work. Very tired still. But I'm doing okay. I'm also still working my day job. So also I'm kind of trying to balance that out too.
Yeah, isn't that the fucking worst? You go to these shows and like, you know, you take maybe one. Well, for me, I'll take one vacation day, like a Friday or a Monday. And then you have to go right back to work right after like being nonstop. Go for, 48 hours at these shows. You fly back on Sunday, Monday morning, you're back at your fucking day job, man. It's the worst.
It is really, really terrible. And you know what's funny? This year, I actually asked off that Monday following C2 weekend, right? Thinking, I'll be able to recover and like just relax, catch up on some sleep, yada, yada. But then I forgot that my friends, Aaron and Katrina, were staying till Wednesday. So, and I didn't want to let them, hang and not have anything to do. So and again, I'm not blaming them for this. It's just me not, factoring that in. And so I just ended up taking the day off and hanging out with my friends, which I do like. It's just, I was still very tired after all that. So yeah, I'm still a little, I don't know if I'm getting sick. Hopefully not.
You got the the con crud.
I think I avoided it because I think I would be like full blown, in bed by now. Probably. It's just, I think, just overall exhaustion more than anything else. And then also I didn't get to exercise for a week. So I fucking yesterday was the first time I got to exercise in a week. And it's really that thing. The little things throw me off. Like once I get into a regimented schedule, anything that throws that shit off, it like really fucks with my head. So it's nice getting back into like a set schedule again. And again, not throwing rocks at my friends. It was really great hanging out with them. If anything, this is the most I've gotten to spend time with them in a very long time outside of, seeing them a couple of days whenever I go back home for the holidays. So that was great. Speaking of friends, we'll actually be talking with Katrina over the next 2 episodes. So this one, episode 6 and episode 7, will be a 2-parter in terms of that interview where we discuss her sort of experience working in a comic shop, managing a comic shop in our hometown of Lakeland, Florida. We do get to learn a lot about things that I think we maybe didn't know a whole lot about. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like, it's something that maybe we as comic creators don't really get to think about too much unless we ourselves are working in a comic shop. So yeah, we'll be exploring sort of retail and working with distributors, Diamond, etc., and how that all works. And also talking about customer base, how comic shops and employees and managers like herself really do help out with the comic industry and these publishers in a bigger way than maybe I assumed or you had assumed. But Cam, you worked in a comic shop too, and we do touch on that in the interview. Anyway, so yeah, that'll be coming up in the second half of this episode and the next episode, because we do cover a lot of stuff. Yeah. So anyway, back to C2. It was fine. Yeah, just still tired. Still, my brain isn't 100% yet. Cam, have you done any big, kind of Comic Con type deal shows like this before?
No, I mean, I talked about it on an episode where like I worked at Neil Adams' booth for one. So like I've been at one and worked a table, but I've never actually tabled myself at one. And I don't think I will, man. It would be really cool to go, for another show. Ian Rooks was telling me he's doing Heroes Con this year. And, I know that's like a bigger convention show. It doesn't have like the douchebag CW shows tied to it. Like, you don't have the car from Supernatural there. It's more comics focused. But I just feel like if your bread and butter for the comics portion of your show is superheroes, I'm not getting over in that environment. So the table fee usually is a little higher, and it's a gamble I'm not willing to take. But, I'm not going to close the door on it completely. I just don't think it's very likely for me.
Yeah. I mean, I understand. I think the more I do these shows, the more I have a better understanding of, what my audience is, which I think is important. I think doing these shows and really interacting with the readership and whatnot is very, very informative And, if there's anything that I can take away from it, at least it's kind of getting that much, at least, right? Like, learning more about the business on that end is been very interesting. And then also, yeah, I mean, the majority of it is just getting to see friends that I don't see otherwise. A lot of these people that do these shows that I met like the first or second year I started doing shows, they don't really do small press shows. I think some of them do SPX. A handful of them do Cake. But outside of that, I don't really get to see them. So it's like once a year that I get to hang out with these people for the most part, So that's always nice. Yeah,
and that's the most fun part of the shows. It's great to sell your book and get your work out there, but really, to me, it is all about like hanging out afterwards. Even though you're like tired and you want to go to your room, like it's really cool to hang out with everybody and get to interact with everybody and talk shop because we can't really talk about this stuff with like most people in our ordinary lives. Your day-to-day interactions at work and stuff. So I really love that aspect of it, just seeing everybody catching up. But, with you being at C2E2, it is primarily like a bigger, Big Two show. The guy you were tabling with, Matt, right?
Yeah, Matt Horak.
Yeah, he's working for the Big Two, right?
He is. He's just wrapping up a book with Marvel. He was doing the Spider-Man Deadpool story.
Yeah.
So that, that has a lot of eyes on it, obviously.
Right. So did you see like an increase in traffic just because you were tabling with them? Like more people stopping by and being like, oh, let me check this out.
Marvel readers, and I would say like people who dabble or are hardcore, they do share one thing, and is that all of them really have tunnel vision. Mm-hmm. They like their guys.
Right, yeah.
They like Batman. They like Spider-Man. They like Deadpool. They don't really care who's attached to it, to be honest. From what I can tell, it could be anyone. It doesn't matter. If you're doing that character, that's what they give a shit about.
Right. And
so, yeah, I mean, a lot of the people that were coming through would just kind of beeline it to him, get some autographs. You would get the very stereotypical, like, 40-something white male with a long box full of books to get signed.
Right. Carrying it on a little dolly.
Yeah. Oh, man, those dollies. That shit is hilarious. Woo, that never gets old. Every time I see that, I'm like, oh, man, that is that is vagina repellent if I've ever seen any.
Especially when you've got the dolly with multiple, like, comic boxes on it. It's like, holy fuck. Dude, what about the guys that get stuff signed where they have, like, the book taped up to where there's a little window or a box left where they want the guy to sign? Have you seen those people?
No, I've never seen that. Oh, man.
Oh, dude. So, like, they put these weird, like, bags on. I've seen it a lot. They put these, like, the protective bags on their comics, but they have, like, a hole cut out and, like, blue, like, painter's tape or some kind of tape that, like, tapes the bag, but there's, like, this little sliver exposed. And I don't know if it's, like, they pick because they don't want it to obstruct the artwork. I don't know what the deal is, but I've definitely seen it at those bigger shows.
That is nearly psychotic.
Yeah, I don't really understand. I guess, like, you don't want the rest of it exposed to air or whatever.
Right. That's okay. Yeah. And, we also had a couple of people that were, like original art collectors. There was this one guy, he came through with a portfolio and it had some crazy original pages. When he left, I turned to Matt. I was like, Matt, how much do you think that portfolio? Also, it's kind of weird that this dude is just carrying his collection around for no reason. Like, he didn't have to bring his collection. You know what I mean?
Right. It's not like he's like a vendor, like selling them there. Yeah.
Right. He could have just brought an empty portfolio if he's looking to buy new pages, but that's not what he did. This dude brought his entire thing full of original art that he had bought over the years.
Dude, that's the flex.
It was a flex. It's a kind of flex, yeah. And I turned to Matt. I was like, how much do you think that book is probably worth, like, collectively? And he's just like, man, like, soft estimate is probably $5,000.
Jesus.
That's like the low end.
Yeah. And if I had, like, money like that, though, I would probably be that dude. I wouldn't bring, like, my portfolio of pages to, like, a comic convention, but I would definitely, like, if I had, like, a huge disposable income, I'm definitely stacking up on original art.
For sure. In fact, when on Saturday before the show opened, me and Aaron were kind of just like walking around, and we came across a vendor that had all original artwork. And we initially didn't know that because, like, his table you would have like laughed if you saw this, because it was not a traditional vendor table. It's just like they had a table set up and then he just threw the pages out. It was just like everywhere, all over the place. No categorization, no rhyme or reason. It was like a work table of like,
what did he have?
Like Corbin, Bixley, some Klaus, some Burns.
What the fuck?
Some wood rings. I mean, just like crazy stuff. The Bisley stuff really fucked with me, because they were like, the size of them had to have been no more than, I'm guessing here, probably like 9 by 12 or something.
Okay.
And these things are immaculately painted, like super tight. They look insane, just as good, if not better, than what you see in the covers and in the pages that he did.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking of this whole time, it's just like, man, if this place gets crowded, someone could easily just walk up here and snatch these.
Oh yeah, especially if it's just like all strewn about a table, just thrown.
And the dude, it was 2 guys and they were barely paying attention. I mean, they paid attention to us because we started talking to them, but they were just in their own little world. But yeah, and who did the Fever book, that Spider-Man Doctor Strange book?
Brendan McCarthy. He had some original Brendan McCarthy pages, including stuff from that Fever book. And which was funny because me and Katrina were talking about it because she hadn't seen the book before. And it's like one of the few Spider-Man books that I can go back and look at and be like, yeah, this still holds up. Just because of how weird it is. It's not a traditional Marvel Spider-Man comic in any way. And I think he did those Johnny Nemo books for like 2000 AD or something like that, right? Wasn't he?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he wrote the story and drew it. So he had complete control, which is kind of rare, I would say, with Marvel stories. And I think it might have been Marvel Select or, Marvel, whatever, their side. It's like kind of like their...
like their Vertigo?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Marvel's Vertigo, basically. But man, that book is gorgeous. But anyway, his original page is just laying out, just, all casual.
Were they like cheap or were they pretty expensive?
Those were expensive only because they were Marvel Spider-Man stuff.
What about the Clouds and Wear stuff? How much was he selling that stuff
was
for?
Pretty pricey too. But considering he also had some other Brendan pages, and those were like $175.
Oh,
which was crazy. And it really fucked with me because the pages were drawn on like printer paper quality stuff. Like it was thin as shit, just garbage paper. And I was just like, man, that's wild. I would not expect that from him. But whatever. I mean, they look great, and I guess it really doesn't matter.
The coolest shit I saw was I saw like a stack of Mazzucchelli Daredevil pages at a show here in Louisville. Ooh. And that was just awesome to look through. But he was asking like $5,000 a pop on them, which absolutely,
there were some Kirby sketches there too.
No way, dude. That would be so crazy to just see up front in person.
Yeah, man. Good stuff all around. But yeah, I don't know. Like another problem with these shows is like, because it's in Chicago and it's such a big city, everybody is like so content with not leaving the radius, like a 2-mile radius of the convention, because most of these people are staying at the hotel, so they don't want to leave really or go anywhere that's like 2 out of the way. Mm-hmm. And while I get that, I don't understand why you would go to Chicago and not want to venture out to some other place, at least for the night,
Right, right.
Who wants to hang out at the hotel bar and pay $8 for a shitty watered down well drink?
I don't know, man. I was doing that at SPX last year.
Well, SPX, where else are you going to go?
Yeah, that's true. You'd have to go into the city. But yeah, at Chicago, it's like right at your foot, right at your, everything's right there. You can find something within. Yeah,
like fucking Skylark, which is like a kind of local neighborhood divey bar. Uh-huh. It is like maybe a 20-minute walk from the convention center. And you can get drinks for dirt cheap, and they're all really good. And the food's actually really good for a bar. But nobody goes out there because everybody, they just want to stay within their little comfort circle. And it's really irritating. Also, another thing I don't like, having to corral 20 or 30 people for dinner. That shit sucks. That is not a fun thing. So that's why I understand why people just want to keep it small, have 4, maybe 5 people at the most. I understand that. But like Friday, our first night in, it was like me, Aaron, Katrina, Matt Allison, His wife, Crystal, I believe. Man, I hope that's right. I probably fucked that up. She's really nice too. That's going to be really fucked up if I messed up. Andrew McLean.
I picked up that new Headlopper that came out a couple weeks back.
Oh yeah. That was really good.
Stuff. Yeah.
Matt Horak, his buddy. Oh, I can't remember his name. He was really nice too. Fuck. I don't know. He's like a Marvel guy. I don't. That's another thing. I don't know these people because like I don't. It would probably like behoove me, I guess, if I actually actively read this stuff, and that way you'd be like, oh, you're so and so, and oh, you're yada yada, and you work on this and that. Like, I don't know these things. I really don't. People throw down their names, and I'm just like, that doesn't mean anything to me. I'm sorry, I can't. That's not going to help me. But needless to say, it was Dave Baker, who I think you met, and Nicole, who I think you met at SPX.
Yeah,
they
Dave
Fuck Off Squad
did stuff with. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. He did stuff with that shitty Watchmen book too, right?
Yes, for Shitty Watchmen and Shitty Dark Knight Returns.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, they were with us and just like a bunch of other people. And it was like insane. We had like a whole table. Buster Moody was with us. I mean, it was a whole crew.
Yeah, it sounds like a server's nightmare, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely was, I'm sure. Especially when someone was like, can we all split the bill? And I'm just like,
yeah,
shit, you all have cash. Just give me the cash and I'll do the math. You fucking lazy pieces of shit. I'll do this.
I was a server for like 4 years and that was the worst. Splitting bills. And then like when you had a party of 20 walk in because you knew you automatically had to make 20 glasses of water.
Yeah. Yeah. You know? Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So on the flip side of that shit sucks. But usually you end up making more money for that kind of stuff. So it's all right.
Yeah, especially if they split up the check, because then, you know, you do the 20-25% per check at that point. You're like banking. Anyway, yeah, luckily no one was a huge asshole and we all paid 25%. We actually paid probably 30% per paycheck. Well, we added it all on one check to make it easier for the server. I was just like, just give me cash. I'll do the math. I'll round up. Let's just get this over with and be out of here. So that lady that was working that night, she got a pretty nice little cut. So I'm not too mad about it.
Where'd you guys eat at?
It was like I think it was like a Thai place that we went to that was like relatively close by. Matt and Buster had been there before and they recommended it to us. So, you know, we went there. But yeah.
Pretty solid.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. It wasn't great either, but I mean, the problem is everything that's very close to the convention center and McCormick's, it sucks. It's all garbage for the most part. So that's why I try to get people to be like, just get out of this area. This place is a black hole. There's nothing here. Chinatown is literally just right down the road. Just go there. And please, for the love of God, please do a reservation. Don't just show up and just expect a table to be ready. Oh,
dude, yeah, for sure. Even though we only had like 6 people going to Momofuku last year, I made the reservation like a week and a half in advance.
Yeah, well, that place, you definitely have to do that shit. Yeah, that's for sure. Now, I mean, we, on Friday, Thursday, I made a reservation because I knew exactly how many people were going to be with us. So that definitely helped. What else? Oh, yeah, so on Saturday, here's the thing with C2E2, I don't know. I think it's because it's local for me that I normally just go home.
Right after the show.
Yeah. Like I want to be social and I want to hang out with friends, but also like I just go to bed. Like I don't have to be.
And you have that luxury that it's in your town. You know, most of the time these shows are usually outside of your town. So like you have nothing better to do but hang out and be social. Yeah. So, and it is nice to like go head back to the hotel room, but usually you're on some kind of weird adrenaline wave.
Exactly. I feel like you get into a mode because you're outside of your normal city or your home. And so you feel more inclined to do stuff.
Yeah. I turn into an alcoholic every comic show. I never drink at home. Like I can't remember the last time I had a drink. If there's a comic show, I'm acting like it's freshman year of college again.
For real. Yeah. SPX.
Yeah.
Man, we got fucking tanked.
It's round 2 this year.
Oh, man.
Come find us.
Man, shout out to MS Harkness for the fucking, what is it? The day after fucking drink tablet.
Oh, that was all you get. Oh, yeah. Ooh, the hangover over.
Yep, that saved my ass a number of times that weekend. Yeah. Anyway,
do you remember the next day we gave you a Truly on Sunday, and then you just gave it to MS Harkness, and she drank it with no issue. We're over here dying at the table. And
well, to her credit, she also knows how to stop drinking.
Yeah. Okay. Fair. And we are just irresponsible.
We're just dumb idiots who are just like, yeah, I'm fucking wasted. Let's drink another.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, I don't know. So yeah, on Saturday, I'm not really drinking that much. Aaron and Matt are inviting us to this like Marvel C2E2 event. Which in my head, I'm thinking, okay, like, you all got Disney money, so this is going to be like a big baller ass party or whatever.
Yeah.
And even then I was just like, I don't really want to do that. I have no business being there. I'm not going to talk to anyone outside of, Aaron and maybe Matt, but they're probably going to be busy talking to like these editors and whatnot. So I have more to lose than to gain in that situation. So initially I was like, no, I'm not doing that. So we hung out with some other people and then I don't know. I think it was Buster that convinced me to go with him because Aaron had convinced him to go. Mm-hmm. So we decide, okay, well, at least there'll be free drinks. So that'll be nice. So we go to the thing. It's at some like shitty Irish bar, 10 minutes from the convention center.
Right.
And they did have an open bar, but it stopped. So by the time we got there, they had just cut it off.
And is this bar closed to the public?
I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, there were just regular people in there too. I think it was just if you had a wristband or something, they would just give you free drinks.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, we were there for a little bit. And I just hung out with Aaron and Matt. And there was this other guy. He was tabling next to us because he also works on the Spider-Man Deadpool thing with Matt.
Okay.
He's a Detroit boy. What's his name? Oh my goodness. You're the one that reads Marvel. I don't.
Man, yeah, but it's so limited, man. Like I read more DC than Marvel. But I'm not reading that book. Is it the writer or is it another cartoonist?
No, he's another artist. Yeah, he's another.
Okay. Yeah, I honestly don't know, man. I'm not reading that book.
Maybe Jim Toe?
Jim Tao.
Is that Tao?
Tao. Let me see.
Am I pronouncing that right?
So, yeah, if you type Jim Toe or Jim Tao into Google, Jim Tao Comics comes up. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. So it was Jim. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And we talked to him a little bit because he'd been tailing with next to us. Mm-hmm. And he's a pretty chill guy. But outside of that, it was like exactly what I thought it was going to be, which is very, very lame. It was just a bunch of dorks that were drunk. The thing that really caught my attention, and me and Buster, I don't know if you know, but Buster is like, he runs on weed. Like, I don't even think he needs to eat really. I think he just can consume hashish and that's enough for him.
Yeah.
But we show up to the party and we're, kind of lit, not out of hand. I'm definitely not out of hand. I'm pretty much sober. Like I haven't really been drinking a whole lot. Mm-hmm. And we get there, and Katrina and Aaron are pretty fucking slammed at this point.
Right.
Because they've been hammering drinks, and it's all free, so they've just been going to town.
Yeah, you just take advantage of that shit.
Exactly. And they're in like this circle, you know how like social settings, some people will just stand in a circle because that's just what people tend to do for some reason. Mm-hmm. And there's like a large group, and me and Buster stroll in, and also, Adam, a friend of Buster's who I met a couple years back. He's a writer. Really cool dude. Anyway, we show up there and immediately, like no joke, that circle just closes. It just closes away from us and away from everybody that we were talking to. Like, it was like a weird, like it was like some classic fucking nerd high school shit, like y'all are fucking grown ass adults.
So like what? Like it was like the Marvel clique was like, oh, you guys aren't welcome here, and they just
I don't know. It was just like, we don't know who you are, so we're just gonna turn our backs now. And I was like, okay, that's cool. Like whatever. That I was actually very, very surprised because we got there and Matt's just like pointing out who's who because like I don't know and even after he told me I was like these names don't mean anything to me. I don't know these people. Mm-hmm. But the one name that did stand out, Cebulski, CB Cebulski. Okay, yeah. And I was like, oh shit. It was that fucking dude that pretended to be a Japanese guy for years, who's now head editor of Marvel. And I was like, oh man. And I'm looking back. I didn't interact with them, but looking back, I was like, man, if I was fucking drunk, like if I was SPX drunk, I would have fucked with that guy.
Do Was he like, I'm just picturing this dude dressed like fucking Kenny Powers wearing like a kimono.
Oh my God.
Bar.
No, he actually looked exactly like the guys that were running around with those little rollers and the long boxes.
Oh, okay.
You know, I would not be able to tell him apart from any of those other guys, to be honest with you. He's just like a guy. Like, he's just a white dude that's like in his 40s and fat and has no neck and just like waddles more than walks, and you know. I'm sorry if I know I'm getting into body shaming, but also fuck that guy. Yeah, if I was fucking drunk, man, I would have loved to have just walked up to him and be like, oh my God, you're Akira Yoshida. I love your work. It is an honor. It is a great honor to finally meet you, Mr. Yoshida. I mean, Yoshida-san. Sorry. Your work made me appreciate and understand Japanese culture way more. I learned so much after reading your books, and really just about Asian culture in general. So I just want to thank you personally for that. I just would have loved to have seen him just sweat and just like, you know, like fucking tug on his collar. But, you know, but also I think in retrospect too, that it would probably be best not to do that, because then my friends that work for them would probably catch some heat. Because I know that dude would have fucking threw a fit if I did that. If I made a fucking grown man uncomfortable for 2 minutes of his fucking time.
Well, and at the Marvel party, I think If you just walked up to dude at his table and did that, whatever. But because, like, technically, you know, you have to know somebody to be where you're at. Yeah, exactly. You don't want to get your friends in trouble.
He probably would have sniffed it out, and some fucking cop snitch would have been like, oh, it was so-and-so's friend. And, you know, and then I don't want to fucking have to deal with that shit.
He would have typed your name into Instagram and saw your mutual followers and went on a witch hunt on social media. So, they would have gotten to the bottom of it.
So it's probably better that I wasn't fucking drunk at this show and at this after party type of deal thing.
Give him a doomsday device in the bar. Oh my God. Jump off the bar, hit him with the clothesline.
No, I would have just like walked up to him and like pulled my eyes back and just did like some fake Japanese accent to him. Damn it. I would have been a real dickhead.
Oh my God.
And I fuck that fucking guy and fuck that company for even because they actively lied about it.
Right. Yeah. They tried to cover it up. Right.
Right. They fucking knew he was not Japanese, and they knew that he was using that just to fucking to be an editor and also write on a book. Right.
Yeah. And I mean, like, you know, if you're gonna fucking do that, like, I feel you. If you're an editor and you want to write, but don't fucking, you know, pretend like you're a Japanese writer. Just fucking be John Smith. You're a fucking white dude. Like,
as a company, don't actively hire a white dude pretending to be Japanese that you know isn't Japanese, and have him do all the books that take place in Japan. That is insane. That is the fucking babblings of a crazy person. And I understand that was before the Disney merger. Right, so like Disney, you know, after the fact is probably going to be like, oh, well, you know, we weren't around when that shit happened. But like, that is why. And I also think too, even if they did catch wind of this, because somebody had to have, even if they did, and even if they got called out about it, fucking Marvel Comics, like in terms of like the grand scheme of the Disney empire, Marvel Comics is so low tier in terms of their priority. They wouldn't give a shit about it. You know, like all those articles and exposés about it, and nothing came out of it.
Right.
It's like, it's nothing. They don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Disney's busy making a cool $20 billion on their next Avengers movie. You think they're going to give a shit about some like fucking no neck having loser pretend to be Japanese and got a head editor job? No, of course not.
Nah, bigger fish to fry.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, that was my C2E2 experience. I will say another positive thing. I got to meet Xander Cannon. I didn't know what he looked like.
Kaiju Max?
Yeah.
Is that the book? Yeah. Yes. Cool stuff.
Really liked that book. And so it was kind of unexpected for him to, he knew Matt, of course. Matt fucking knows everybody. Mm-hmm. And I mean, to his credit also, Matt's a very talented artist. He's a hard worker, but also he's like a genuinely nice guy. Also, shout out to Matt. Thanks for having me table with you. That was really cool. That was a fun time. He knew Matt. He walked up and somebody mentioned his name, you know, conversation. And then Matt introduced me to him and I was like, oh, you're the guy that does Kaiju Max. I fucking love that book. I don't read a whole lot of books. And that was one of the books that I read. And
yeah, that was a cool book.
Yeah, it's like really cool. I don't know. I just really enjoyed it. He was a really nice dude. We did a little sketch trade. I did him a little Gamera sketch, and then he did me a much better Gamera drawing. he clearly put more time and thought into, so I kind of felt bad. But yeah, shout out to him. That was really cool of him. So yeah, I think it's those little interactions and like getting to hang out with your close buddies and friends and catching up. I mean, that kind of makes it. And as much shit as I talk about comic conventions in general and how much money I tend to not make, it is those little things that make it worth it, or at least a little. It makes the big pill easier to swallow, I guess.
Yeah, it definitely keeps you going and motivated to keep going to these shows for sure.
Yeah. So, but, and I also kind of rationalize that, you know, we'll do these small press shows and the Zine Fest, and that's where I'd make most of my money. And
yeah, that's your bread and butter, because that's your audience that's willing to take a risk on that stuff.
Absolutely. So,
yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, what about you, Ed? Anything new with you?
No, just, you know, getting ready for Chicago Zine Fest, LA Zine Fest, and Cake. It's going to be a pretty busy May. Those events are all back to back, so I'm going to be not home a lot. But, you know, I'm just working on getting this book done. I've got 9 pages left, and then it's completely done. And those pages are in different, you know, forms. You know, for the most part, it's done. So, yeah, it's shaping up to be pretty good. Not that the work's pretty good, but like my progress on it is pretty good. I'll let people decide if it's good or not. But yeah, looking forward to seeing you all at those shows and everything like that, and hanging out and getting our own con experience. I'm going to make you go to Jollibee, though. Have you eaten there? Well, you're vegetarian for the most part, right?
I eat fish every once in a while, but then there's not a whole lot I can eat. Trust me, this is a conversation I've had with some people, including Rich Mike of Virtual Pros and Border Boss.
Yeah. There's Al from Virtual Pros is also Filipino like me, and Jollibee is a Filipino fast food chain that's made its way over to America. And usually I hit it up in California. I found out there's one in Chicago, so I've got to hit it while I'm there. Yeah, so definitely looking forward to that too. But yeah,
you gotta do the thing that all these Filipino dudes do, and you gotta make some bootleg Jollibee merch.
Oh yeah, man, I gotta get on that. But no, I mean, just kind of working and getting that stuff ready. Are you pretty much like done and stocked up for the upcoming shows? Like, or do you still have a lot of stuff to do? Like as far as having product and books and everything, like, are you already ready to go?
I would like to do a couple of things before Zine Fest, because I would like to have some new things for Zine Fest outside of the ash can that I debuted. Oh, also, yeah, I debuted the comic me and Aubrey did, Barbarian. And that one actually I sold probably, I don't know, like just shy of 40 copies of the thing. And that's okay, I guess. And I'd like to have something else besides that, though, for Zine Fest, and especially for Cake. So I would say in the meantime, I do have some stuff I want to get done, some zines and some comics. We'll see how much of that actually does get done, because I still have to catch up on some freelance work too, and a couple of things here and there. We'll see. I gotta fucking
grind, man.
Yeah, it's a fucking pain, and it doesn't help with the day job thing too. I will say, if things go as planned, I will likely have a new Rhizo book done by Cake, I'd imagine. Hopefully, it's I'd say 20% chance of it getting done, but it's a thing that I've been working on with a buddy of mine, Eric. He has the Rhizograph publisher called Really Easy Press, based out of Seattle. Okay. So that's something we've been working on and kind of trying to get done. It's been a minute because we're still trying to finish the script, and then after that, it's going to be a matter of us doing the artwork, going back and forth with that. So hopefully I'll have that ready. And also I do want to sit down and do some outlines for 2 stories that I've had kind of shaking around in the back of my brain for the last 7 or 8 months. So yeah, I want
gotta thumbnail them out at least before you forget them.
Yeah, well, I just want to jot down the key ideas and sketch out some like key visuals that I have before they like fall out of my brain.
Right. So,
yeah, but I do have. I want to kind of go back. I think 2020. I really want to refocus and do more stuff that I'm writing and drawing again. I miss doing that. So And also, we got to get the Momo fuck you stuff done.
Oh yeah, that's coming too.
Yeah.
I think Blake's the only one who's completely done with his story. But
of course, Blake's done. That dude's a fucking workhorse.
He's a machine, dude. He's such a fucking machine.
Yeah, and it's always like just across the board really good. So I don't understand how he does that.
Yeah, consistent.
Yeah, so. Super consistent.
Yep. Incredible stuff.
Are you even done with yours?
With my book?
No, I mean, for your thing for Momo Fuck You.
Oh, no. It's like thumbnailed out and written, but beyond that, no, not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. Because I know that's a weekend's worth of work for me.
Oh, wow. Okay. Oof. Damn. All right.
Well, because like my thing's only going to be like 4 or 5 pages. So as long as I can like lay down the pencils like throughout the week after work, inking and coloring, I can get that done in a weekend.
Yeah.
Of like 2 solid 8-hour days. That's me like, chaining myself to the desk, but
sure. I got to streamline my process or something then. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things that like I'm not in a pleasant mood the whole time I'm doing it, and I wish that I'm not, in that position, but usually I just dick off too long to where I have to be in that position. So,
All right. Well, you saw the 1 page I've done so far. So
hey, it was good.
That's all I have. That's all I fucking have.
It was really good.
Thanks,
different kind of style for you.
Yeah. I'm trying to change it up. I mean, Matt actually brought this up while we were tabling. Just like, so you have like 6 or 7 different styles that you seem to do, and I'm just like, yeah, it's kind of schizophrenic. It's I'd like to think that I have more control over it, but I don't know. Like it just depends on what it is I'm working on at any given time.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm no Jim Rugg, that's for fucking sure. That dude is like a chameleon.
That dude has, infinite styles there.
Infinite, and they all look amazing.
Yeah, like gallery worthy on those ballpoint drawings that he does. It's crazy.
Man.
Dude, I like that. I saw that you posted on Instagram that at the end of C2E2, you took Katrina and Aaron to the breakfast spot down the street from your house that we always hit before we leave. I like that you guys went there. What's that place called?
Don's Burgers. Yeah.
Great diner. And,
really good. They were super impressed by it too. So that was good. Yeah. I love that place. It's only like 2 or 3 guys that work there, and they're always like really, really chill.
It's super awesome. Every time I've eaten the food there, I've always gotten the breakfast, never gotten a burger, but
we
stuff.
We will for sure hit that spot up when you guys come through for CZF.
Yeah, so we do. It seems like we do every time. So looking forward to it.
So anything else? Anything we're good here?
No, I think that we can go ahead and get to part 1 of our interview with Katrina. So for anybody that has ever read a comic, you've more than likely been at a comic shop. So stay tuned. After the break, we're going to have some insight into the retail side of things. Normally we just bitch and moan about making it. Now we're going to interview and talk to somebody who sells it.
We'll be right back. There's a new hero in town, a whirlwind of action that's positively okay. Yes, dare to wear the mask. From zero to hero, the mask is one lean green crime-fighting machine. He's a hard-hitting superhero as he battles the evil mask-stealing Dorian. He's a quick-draw dude with maskitude. Eye-popping, crime-stopping, or just killing time. Even Milo's putting a bite on crime. Dare to wear the mask. Somebody stop me. Figures each sold separately. Now, back to our program.
A little bit about our past experiences and memories of comic shops, and anybody that reads comics or has read comics at least had experiences at shops that they like talking about and stuff like that. Normally in a positive light, And we always talk about sort of the state of comics and where it's going as a business and its overall health and well-being and what that means for creators, artists, writers, what have you. And, we can only talk so much to a point until we really need to have some more insight about the subject with graphs and charts and all that shit. Just looking at actual data, right? So it's great that we have someone here on today's episode, and they are a friend of mine from Florida, Katrina.
Hi.
Katrina, you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, my name is Katrina Pietraskiewicz. You don't have to worry about that part. I manage a comic shop. I have worked there for like 5.5 years. Been a manager for like 3.5. Yeah, and so I spend a lot of time thinking about comics. I'm also married to someone who makes comics.
Yes.
So it's like
friend of the show. Yeah, Aaron.
Can't get away from him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we talk about Aaron at least once every other episode.
Yeah, because it always comes up like because JB's always like bringing up how he got his start and who influenced him. So we do talk about him pretty regularly on the show. Not a bad way, but
always in a bad way.
So don't worry. But
you know who I hate in comics? Aaron.
No, but thanks for coming on. We're gonna kind of just talk about what it's like on the opposite end. JB and I are always on here talking about what it's like to make them and grinding it out, trying to sell them. But we're gonna get some insight and hopefully learn some things, because JB and I just say some things without actually knowing if it's true or not about the retail side of things. So,
well, to be fair, we do know some stuff about the sales and stuff, but not to the depth of knowledge that Katrina will from first-hand experience.
Right,
well,
definitely.
Hopefully, time will tell. We'll see how this goes.
So yeah, Katrina, how long have you been a fan of comics, just in general, and a reader?
Maybe like 10 or so years. Before that, I'd like read a comic here or there, like casually, more like graphic novels or whatever. When I was a kid, I like came across a copy of this like terrible 90s issue, What If the Hulk Killed Wolverine? And it had like one of those like chromium like embossed covers, and I was like obsessed with it, but I had no like connection to like how to get into comics as a kid, so like I like was left at that basically until like high school, when I read like Ghost World or whatever, because I was like an angry girl. But probably like 10 years or so ago I started like reading them a little more seriously.
Was Ghost World kind of what like introduced you to the alternative comic scene?
I'm trying to think. It was for sure way up there. I don't know if it was maybe the very first, but it's the first I can remember, at least, where I was like, whoa, these girls, I like get it.
Yeah, definitely.
And this
it was like
middle-aged white dude who draws them, he gets it.
I actually just watched the movie 2 days ago. Haven't read it in a while, but yeah, they did pretty good with that. But
I think the movie's like a really good translation of the book. I like it.
Yeah, definitely. So do you, at your shop, do you stock a lot of alternative stuff, or is it mainly like stuff from the big two?
So both, I would say. We try, so the store that I manage, I work for a company actually that's a chain of 8 stores. And I manage one of the smaller stores that has like been in like, most of the other locations are in like big cities, in Florida. And my store is like, I mean, Lakeland's not like the smallest place in the world, but, it's not quite a big city. And so our shop, like, we've spent, the guy who managed it before me, who's also like a friend of ours, he
it's a small town,
yeah, like
in that way.
Over the course of like 15 years or whatever that the shop's been open in that town, like my store currently runs on a staff of 2 people. It's me and one other guy. So like we like spend a lot of time getting to know our customers, and also like we like a lot of like indie comics, so we spent a lot of time like cultivating that in our store. I mean, like, obviously the comics I sell the most of are like Batman and Spider-Man, but I still like, I sell a fair number of like Dan Class books or whatever, like the Love and Rockets book I carry on the shelf, the one that's coming out currently. So we try to just keep it pretty evenly spread out.
Yeah. I mean, I mentioned before, and I don't know if it was on the one that got deleted or lost in the one that we ended up saving, but I had mentioned how really the Lakeland location is kind of spoiled in a lot of ways.
Oh, totally.
Because like before you, it was E.T. Ed, and between you and E.T. and also like Aaron and Jake, another friend of ours who worked at the shop, you all have like very specific tastes that go beyond sort of the general kind of readership of any comic shop in a small Florida town. Yeah. I would say. Yeah,
and also I would say like the 4 of us specifically, and some other people who've like worked there briefly, here and there or whatever. Like I feel like we all have like influenced each other's interests and tastes a lot. So like when I, as the person who manages the shop now, like when I submit my diamond order every month and I like put in Aaron and Edward's previous orders, I always like look up what they, I was like, oh, let me check that out, see what that's about. Like I think we all kind of like, especially, and then even if that's something I don't get, then I like might, you know, X, Y, or Z customer be like, hey, how about this thing I know about now? So it's nice to have that.
Well, you mentioned how it was like a corporation too. So with it being a corporation, like, you know, you mentioned stocking like alternative titles. And I guess if the comics that we make here, you know, they're definitely going to be like that indie type book. Do you have to like go up a chain of command and say, hey, I kind of want to order this title from, you know, Fantagraphics, just for an example? Well,
so as long as it's something like, so everything I can get through Diamond, which is like all Fantagraphics, all Drawn and Quarterly, all like, you know, ad houses and Fantagraphics, all that stuff like is still like big enough to be in Diamond. So we usually don't have to fight for it too hard unless it's something like really, really bizarre and I'm like ordering 5 copies. Like the owner is going to be like, excuse me, what? But and also like, I mean, like JB was saying, like for a long time, like my location that I run, like we have been like ordering and selling a lot more indie comics than some of our other like even much bigger locations. And so I have to fight for it probably a little less than I maybe would have otherwise. Like we have the history to say like I can sell 5 of the new Dan Klaus book when it comes out. I don't know why I keep bringing him up. That's embarrassing. But yeah, like
I mean, I do it too. It's fine.
He's like the cornerstone of alternative comics, you know. So a name everybody knows.
Yeah, he's the gateway drug. He's the gateway drug.
Definitely. So, I mean, you can go to Barnes and Noble and find Dan Klaus still. That's how much impact he's had just in general. But yeah, luckily I have that like, you know, years and years of like sales history to kind of back us up when we want to get a little weird.
Yeah, for sure. I wish, like, it's hard for us to talk about like sales numbers like nationwide because, you know, you kind of scale it down to like one specific location as part of a chain in a specific state. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm sure those numbers shift from state to state or even just from city to
store
city.
Too. Yeah. Like there are other stores like in my same chain. Like I managed I managed our Tampa store for a year and a half and it was a completely different world. It was a completely different world. I was like, oh, cool. I'm getting my own store. I know what I'm doing now. I'm going to take care of business. And I was like, what? I did not know what to do in that store at all. Cause it's just like not... It like stores get like such personalities, especially based around like the people who run them for however long, you know.
Right. And the type of customers that they attract.
Totally. Well, because it's kind of like a symbiotic relationship, you know, like
exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I find that so fascinating because like it is kind of the case with like other sort of mass media that we consume, right? Like back in the day, like VHS shops, rental stores, they all had their own individual culture, right? And so like, you know, some would be very, very specific in catering to like, I don't know, like European horror. Yeah. And like others would be kind of more into like general schlock. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's that kind of stuff I find very fascinating.
Schlock. That's good. That's pretty good. Yeah. I'd like to think my store like rides the line in between like cool stuff and general schlock, like right somewhere in the middle.
Well, you've got to have it.
I mean, I love general schlock.
Yeah, no, it's schlock, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it pays the bills for sure. And, you know, a lot of it's like not even that bad. Like some of it's pretty fun, but.
I go to the shop every Wednesday and I still try to pick things up off the wall just because like I almost feel like I owe it to the industry because I'm in it. I'm like, I feel like maybe it's a weird way to pay it forward. And also just because I guess like I'm a lifer when it comes to having that experience of checking things out on a weekly basis. You know, it's just been a part of my life for so long that I may not be reading as much.
Is there superhero stuff that you're like, even if this book really starts to suck, I have to get every issue of it? Like, is there something
I was
you're
actually texting about that. Yeah, I was texting about that like earlier with a friend. They were talking about how like they read Deadpool no matter how bad it gets. But with me, it's just like Batman, and I'll buy like fucking Batgirl. I'll buy Nightwing. Like it doesn't even matter who's writing it.
The whole Bat family.
I just do the original, like the original. I like Dick and I like Barbara. and Bruce. You know, so the
gonna isolate and
yeah. Well, I mean, like, you know, I don't care about his punk ass little kid. Like, he's cool to have around sometimes, and I don't mind him stepping in and out. But I'm not gonna buy a book just about, you know, robbing the kid.
I was just talking with someone about how, like, Dick Grayson is way cooler than Damian Wayne, and it kind of sucks that Damian Wayne exists.
Yeah.
Like, Dick Grayson is like his cool, like, adopted son just gets like shafted and pushed off to the side. What a bummer.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, it's like, so I, you know, no matter what, I just buy it. And I think that's just because I love Batman. You know, that was like the first like superhero I latched onto as a kid. So I definitely, you know, keep up with that. So it's not that I have to have like every issue. Like, if I missed one and it wasn't like critical to the story, I'd be like, oh, whatever. But, you know, I do pick it up still. Definitely.
Yeah, that's cool.
Was there any, or were there any like superhero books that you found yourself kind of being drawn to, or was that just something you bypassed initially?
Me?
Yeah.
Like in general, like my whole life?
Yeah.
I mean, there hasn't been, well, okay. Sorry, I had to pick the place to start with all that.
Sorry. Yeah,
so the superhero book that I like have read beginning to end and loved every second of, the only one that is like that is Invincible. Like, I don't know if either of you guys have read Invincible.
Yeah, it was the Kirkman book, on Image.
So Invincible, like, not to get like too over dramatic and cheesy, but like Invincible like changed my entire concept of like what superhero comics could be, or what they had to be, or whatever. It was like really fun and really well written, but also like incredibly serious. Like, things had actual consequences, and Invincible was so great. But
yeah, I read the first like 3 big books of that. It was pretty fun. Like, it did an interesting spin on it. Yeah,
it's so, and like the characters you like really got to know them, you know, throughout the course of the book. And you know, they weren't like beholden to 80 years of whatever like continuity that they had to like stick to all these rules and, you know, whatever. So it was really fun. I liked that book a lot. But as far as like regular superhero stuff, the first ones that I was like reading honestly, like first and last, it's been a while since I've like stuck to like a regular superhero book and been like consistently interested in it. But I loved like Miles Morales Ultimate Spider-Man. Was like good stuff. So great. Like, that's another like book where I felt like I like knew that kid. It was like so fun to read about him, you know, figuring out like who he was as like a spider dude, and it was so great. I loved it. And like around that same time was also when G. Willow Wilson started writing Miss Marvel, and I was loving that. So there was just like a little chunk of time where there were like a few really great ones that I was into, but yeah, there's nothing where like the character specifically or team specifically has like kept me committed to it for a long period of time, really.
But you were never like attached to it as a kid growing up.
No, yeah, like I said, so when I was probably like maybe 10 or so, I found that like What If the Hulk Killed Wolverine book, and I probably read that like 114 times. But then like I never, you know, like my parents, I couldn't even tell you if there was a comic shop where I grew up.
That's
like,
right. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, and like I didn't have any friends that read comics, so I just like didn't do anything with it till I got a good bit older.
You know, now I think about it, Dylan might have sort of a similar kind of situation with his experience with comics too. He might not have really latched on to stuff until kind of later.
Yeah. From my conversations with him, I know he read like Asterix, or is it Asterix, the Viking comic? Because he lived in Europe when he was a kid, and he said he remembered reading that. But besides that, I know that he was more like, I know that he just recently started like doing deep dives into them. But
yeah, I totally forgot about that.
No.
Like how that might even play into kind of like how you consume media. Anyway, so yeah, Katrina, going back to, you know, what you were picking up and what Cam was picking up, like how are sales, sort of the industry as a whole, based on what you're seeing, you know, every week, month, year so far? Like, what are there any sort of trends that you've noticed in sort of like the kind of overall well-being of the industry in terms of like what's moving and what isn't?
Well, so this is where the conversation gets really interesting. Is that so? Like the industry in general is like kind of in a downswing right now. It's not like a free fall or anything, but it's not like for the first you know, like maybe 2012 to 2016 or whatever, it was like growth. Like comics were doing really well for those chunks of years. And the last couple of years have been the first years where it was like, nope, we're actually gonna lose some this year. We're gonna lose some more this next year. And it's, you know, like publishers are kind of scrambling to figure out, and when I say publishers, I mean cough Marvel, cough DC, are like trying to figure out basically what they can do to, you know, level out and, you know, start doing better again. But like, unfortunately, it's like the choices they're making are a lot of like predatory, like printing practices, like, you know, the things that like literally historically have like destroyed the comics industry before in the past are like, yeah, let's try that again. This time it'll work, I promise. Right. So I don't know. It's kind of this really bizarre point in like in history for the industry right now, where like like publishers are basically having to decide like, are we going to make cash grabs and like continue to have hundreds of comic shops close like every year, and then basically turn into like you know, exclusively their like Marvel app or whatever it's called, where you can like read their comics online, or are we going to like change the way we do things and work like in conjunction with comic shops, who are the ones who are actually like have their feet on the ground and are like talking to people about what excites them and like seeing what sells well in their store? Like, are we going to have like an actual symbiotic relationship with them where we do things that are good for them, and then in turn obviously they do things that are good for us by buying our stupid comics? But it's all like still kind of like up in the air, you know, as to what will happen with that, like what will they decide to stick to. Yeah, because the variant thing is like really and truly out of control. Like, it sounds like such a ridiculous thing to pick as, you know, like your complaint about the comic industry. But like when I do my order every month and it says like, so for example, this War of the Realms event is about to happen with Marvel, and I've had to start ordering for it, and it's, you know, like there's a main miniseries, War of the Realms, but then there's, you know, like 14 tie-ins or something like that. Yeah. And each one has like, you know, no fewer than 10 variants, and the variants are like, order 200% of what you did of Tony Stark 9 and you'll be allowed to order this variant. So it's like impossible to order, and you know, you get every guy who walks through the door is like, oh, do you have that variant? So I feel like pressured to have them, but it's like at the same time it's like rewarding Marvel for like being shady and like manipulative.
Isn't it like they'll do like copies, like, because my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong with that whole variant thing, because they'll be on the wall for like $50, and I think the reason why they're priced so high is because you have to order like 500 copies of a book to get one of them. Is that
right?
How that works?
So the only time we price up books is if it's like and it's generally it's based on how rare. So like the 1 in 25 is going to be about $25, because we have to order 25 regular covers to be able to get that one. Right. And you know, on and on with however many numbers. I think for that Dark Knight Master Race or something, they did like a 1 in 10,000 variant or something like that in some store guide, and I was like, now you're just sitting on 10,000 copies of that book. Yeah, that's gonna be the sidewalk sale. Yeah, so that kind of stuff is just like, it's, yeah, like, I mean, I said it was like manipulative before. That's like the best word for it. It's, and, you know, it kind of puts us between a rock and a hard place. Like,
are they allowing those copies to be returnable?
No, that's the thing. More often than not, they're not.
Because I've been seeing, like, I'll read, like, comic news sites, and, like, I'll see, like, some titles will be like, oh, Marvel's making them returnable. Like, are they doing more of that? So that way shops are taking more of a gamble on books, or... You see any upside to that?
It's not that... I think returnability is, like, a big answer to that problem. It's not, honestly, so much Marvel that I feel like is doing it very often. DC does it a good bit. Honestly, you know, I'm sure people have complaints with DC and their... the way they publish and, you know, market their stuff to shops and stuff, but as far as what they could be doing, I have very little complaints about DC. For big books, they'll do returnability, you know, every once in a while. They have one variant for every book, unless it's like, you know, the first issue of like a big Batman miniseries or whatever. They might do a couple other ones, but like Wonder Woman has the regular cover and a variant every month, like rain or shine, like no matter what. And so it makes it a lot easier to order, and also it like makes it a lot easier for my customers to say like, well, I always want the variant, so that I can like subscribe them to the variant. Whereas like for Marvel, every Marvel customer I have that wants variants, I literally have to like handwrite a note and put it in their box for when we do pulls, because there's no way to add it because it's not the same item every month. And so it just makes it a lot more convoluted.
And then Marvel's always doing the restart. I mean, DC's pretty good. I mean, I know they've done restarts with Rebirth after the New 52, but at least that went like years. Like, I feel like Marvel reboots like every 18 months. So how do you explain that to a customer? It's like, yeah, this is number one, but, you know, technically, you know.
Yeah, I try very hard to convince, like, you know, when it's, you know, a new person, like, who is new to comics coming into my shop. And it's not the easiest sell, but I like try very hard to convince them that like the way to get into comics is to like literally just pick up an issue and start reading. Yeah. And if you love that storyline and you want to know what happens before that issue, then like by all means go back and read it. But like if you try to get to the beginning, like, you know, people come in and be like, I want to read the first thing Wolverine was ever in, and I'm like, all right, dude, like you're in for like a world of hurt, because this is gonna take forever and cost you $1 billion. Like, you know, just like pick up a new thing and read it. And it's, you know, like that's I feel like that keeps people out of comic shops too, you know, the idea that you have to start from the beginning and it's this big thing that's been going on for 80 years or whatever, and it's too late to jump in. But, you know, and big reboots, you know, are helpful to that. Like, also, you know, when DC reboots, they do, this has just become like a love letter to DC, which is funny to me. I don't really care about
I love DC much, like, over Marvel if I had to pick, but, you know. Hey,
but they, you know, DC. When they have rebooted, it's the whole line. There's an event that leads up to it. There's a reason why it happens. And it's across the board, and then, you know, they stick with it. And, but Marvel almost never does that. They will just restart a title here and there whenever they feel like it. Like Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur is on like issue 40 or something right now, and that's like outstanding to me. Like issue 40, like that's insane that's like really high, you know.
It's like they usually make it about 14, and then it's like, oh, here's Marvel Now. Here's Marvel Rebirth or whatever the fuck. So
I think they think it's like a jumping on point for new readers. Like I was saying, people can think it's a lot to start without it being a number one. But more often than not, it tends to be a jumping, like people stop reading when it's a new number one. Like I like the last creative team. Like even though I've been getting this book, like I'm sick of this. Like I'm not going to get it. Like that happens a lot. And so, it's kind of a hard sell to convince people to stick with a book when it's like the third number one in a year.
Well, and, you know, kind of going back to DC, and you said changes, DC just cut a lot of books, right? Didn't they cut like half of their production line or something crazy like that?
So, I'm gonna prove how like sometimes lousy I am at my job by like I had heard that. I haven't read, I don't think it's quite that many. I know Green Arrow just ended, which kind of bums me out, even though like no one was reading that book, but I love Green Arrow. But yeah, I think they canceled a few other things. But they're like also like in the middle of this whole like Black Label thing that's kind of like turned into a mess for them, and so I honestly don't know. Like,
are those books continuing? Like, are they still in Diamond, the Black Label stuff?
Yeah, so there's stuff like in the newest previews, like that's under Black Label. Like they just solicited a Superman Year One I forget who's.
Oh, Frank Miller's doing that, I think.
Yeah, Frank Miller's writing it, and then John Romita Jr. is drawing it.
Oh man, that's probably gonna be awesome.
But that's like Black Label, yeah. But that was like just solicited, so I guess they're sticking with it. But they, I feel like they didn't figure out what they wanted Black Label to be before they started doing it.
Did you have any customers come in really angry? Like any moms come in returning the Batman Damned issue with Batman's penis in it? I
am convinced that no mom anywhere did that, because like...
well, that was the narrative going around, is that this was a family-friendly book and there was a dick in it.
But it was not marketed as a family-friendly book. Like, I would not have sold it to a kid.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And I didn't even read it. Like, I am not that big of a Batman fan. Like, I didn't read it. So I didn't even know that it was there until I, like, read it on, like, Bleeding Cool or whatever. But, oh, man. Yeah, like, both Jake and I, who currently works at my shop, like, we would not have sold that book to like a kid, and I can't imagine that there were a lot of shops that would have. Like, I don't know,
like,
who would have been cheesed about that.
Like the argument was like, my kid can just walk in here and grab a Batman story and there's a dick in it. This is unacceptable. Like, that was kind of like,
guess what? If your kid is just walking into my shop and grabbing comics, I'm also going to be like, hey man, you can't just grab comics. Like, that's not how comic shops work. I don't know.
Do you kick people out for reading in the store?
I don't kick them out. I very nicely say like, oh, you know, people like collect these for, you know, the shape that they're in. And when you read them, it kind of, I, you know, have this whole long rambly thing that people get sick of listening to me say. So they just like start walking away while I'm in the middle of saying it.
You just took this from a 9.8 to an 8.2.
Yeah. Or like if I'm feeling really cool, then I'll just like walk up and stare at you and be like, are you finding everything okay? When you're just like standing there reading a comic. And of course they're like, ugh. Get really uncomfortable.
All right, that about does it for this episode. We want to go ahead and thank again Katrina for the interview. The second half will be in the next episode. If you want to write us, send us an email at gutterboyspodcast@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at gutterboyspod. And also feel free to follow me and Cam on Twitter and Instagram. We're on both as Cam Del Rosario and Mort Crimp Jr. All right, later.